Welcome back. I thought I would give you a little sneak peek into the sculpture I'm currently working on. So, every piece of leather sculpture that I make starts off as a piece of clay because I can't, I need something to attach the leather to. So, basically, this is me making my mold. I usually take a lot of photographs and even do some videos just for myself so I can get my proportions right, because when I'm just standing in front of it, even if I'm turning it and looking at it from all angles, sometimes there's things I miss, and I want to make sure that my proportions are all correct before the leather goes on, because once the leather's on, it's too late. Then that's permanent and I can't make any changes. And even as I'm turning this, I do see a couple of mistakes that I'm going to have to fix, which is the point of a video like this, because it's good to look at things from all sides to make sure that everything is correct, or as close to correct as I can make it. I've never invested in a kiln to actually fire any clay, although this is ceramics clay. I never really had the desire because, number one, kilns are incredibly expensive to purchase and to run. They take up a huge amount of space. And this way, I can just reuse this clay over and over and over. If it gets too hard, I can add water and soak it for a while and turn it into something else. Because it's about, I usually buy 50 pounds of clay at a time, which will last me maybe even a year if I'm really careful with it. So for $50, I have a reusable mold for a really long time. Whereas I'm not sure how much this clay even weighs. I think this is about half of what I own, so this may weigh between 15 and 20 pounds. And this is approximately 18 inches long. So if I were to keep this as a clay sculpture, this would be quite heavy, and I think it'd be difficult to store, just about impossible to ship. I'm not sure how other artists who work in clay ship their work, because clay is so much more fragile. And I just love working in leather. I love the end effect and the texture, the smell. But this part is really fun, and I enjoy it a lot. Just making changes and getting everything just so. You'll notice that underneath here is not really finished, and that's because those details just don't show up in the leather. So even like on this foot right here, this is going to be a bunch of folds and creases. And so I found that if I spend too much time on all the details down here that aren't going to show up anyway, I just feel like it's kind of a waste. Whereas I want to concentrate on the parts that actually are going to show up in the leather and make sure those are correct. And just the overall proportions, make sure everything looks, what's the word, normal, as a human looks. Make sure something isn't too big, something isn't off. I shaved down the head quite a bit because that was a little bit too big. And making sure everything lines up correctly. And also just, this is the stage where I look at it and make sure that this is interesting. Is this something that I want to look at for a long time? Is this something that evokes an emotion and says something? If this part is boring and I don't really care, then what's the point, right? So this is like the beginning of the idea, but definitely really not even the halfway mark. this is probably the most important part, because if this is wrong, the entire piece will be wrong. Yeah. But it's not, it's probably about halfway. Nah, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. Now I'm just babbling. I guess I shouldn't try and over-explain it. It's self-explanatory. But I'm going to fix a couple of mistakes, and then I'll let you know the next step.